Hello, welcome to our presentation about students' perception of using Wordwall to enhance vocabulary memorization. The study has two authors, Thien and Nuong Huynh. In the table of content, we have 5 parts. First part is introduction. Second part is literature review. The third is methodology. The fourth is results. And the final part is discussion, conclusion, limitations, and recommendation. In the introduction, we would like to acknowledge that teachers play a key role in students' vocabulary learning because they tend to seek new ways to make students' learning experience more enjoyable and effective. So gradually, teachers have started integrating gamification into teaching. Now, the first gamification platform was SpongeBob in 2005 by Rajat Bahari. And nowadays, we have lots of gamification platforms like Quizlet, Kahoot, or Quizzes. And we cannot deny that vocabulary is the most important skill in language learning. As Wilkins, 1972, stated, without grammar, very little can be conveyed. Without vocabulary, nothing can be conveyed. So even if a person has a strong grasp of grammar, they need vocabulary to comprehend and articulate effectively. However, vocabulary can be hard to memorize. Since memorizing is the first stage of learning according to Bloom's taxonomy, so we think that students need to practice memorizing skills so to have better comprehension and critical thinking. The study have two research questions. The first question is, what are university students' perception of using Wordwall application to enhance vocabulary memorization? And the second question is, how do students perceive the benefits and drawbacks of utilizing Wordwall application to enhance vocabulary memorization? So what is gamification? It is the integration of game elements like badges, points, or leaderboards into real-world contexts. And after students experienced in gamification platforms like Wordwall, their motivation to learn and obtain achievements are enhanced. And it is also argued by Armand and Adriani that gamification is the best innovative method for learning languages. Wordwall has a variety of game modes. It has matchup, quiz, speaking cards, spin the wheel, etc. So this can help students learn new vocabulary more effectively because they don't have to play a single game mode repeatedly. In the theoretical framework, we use the TAM model, Technology Acceptance Model from Davis 1989 to measure students' perception of using Wordwall in vocabulary memorization. The model has 3 aspects: perceived ease of use, perceived usefulness, and behavioral intention. Now it works like this. Perceived ease of use will lead to behavioral intention to use, and perceived ease of use will lead to perceived usefulness, which ultimately leads to behavioral intention to use. In methodology, we had 75 participants who are students from a private university in Mekong Delta in Vietnam. We had 2 instruments for them, 14 items questionnaire measured by 5-point Likert scale and interviews. These 14 items are divided into 3 clusters: perceived usefulness, perceived ease of use, and behavioral intention. Perceived ease of usefulness and perceived ease of use will have each 5 items, and behavioral intention will have 4 items. The reliability statistics of the items have a converged alpha of 0.97. And we have a semi-structured interview for 10 randomly chosen students, and they will have 3 questions. In the questionnaire results, in the first table here, it shows the mean score of students' acceptance of Wordwall. And we can see in the table that students generally accept using Wordwall for their vocabulary memorization. In the next table, it shows the mean score of the 3 aspects of the model. And based on the number, we can see that students' perception of Wordwall is at a quite high value. In the third table here, we measure students' perceived usefulness of Wordwall, and nearly all of them agree that Wordwall is useful for them. In the table 4 here, we measure student perceived ease of using Wordwall, and they do find Wordwall easy to use. The last table here, we measure student behavioral intention to use Wordwall in the near future. And based on the number, we can see that student will use Wordwall. In the interview result, perceived usefulness, 10 out of 10 students perceived Wordwall as useful because it provides them lots of diversified game modes. The same goes for perceived ease of use because Wordwall save time when they want to memorize vocabulary. And regarding behavioral intention, 10 out of 10 students will use Wordwall in the near future because it gives them new experiences in learning. The target of this study is to examine how students accept the use of Wordwall for their vocabulary memorization, and the findings of this study are interesting. Wordwall helps student vocabulary learning become more intriguing and productive, and Wordwall is easy to access. Now, these two findings is closely related to Swari study results in 2023. Wordwall is a tool that helps students find enthusiasm in their vocabulary learning. This finding is consistent with Anchani et al. 2023 study results. And the last finding is Wordwall exercises aid students' vocabulary memorization. This is closely related to Umar et al. And Request Escobar study results. In conclusion, student perception of using Wordwall is positively high, and it is a useful tool for vocabulary memorization and teaching languages. We have two limitations in the study. We had only 75 participants, and they were not exposed to Wordwall long enough. We also recommend that teachers should be a part of this study to make the results more credible. Thank you for listening.